Care Sandwich. I am so excited to have Ashley join me on the virtual stage in a few seconds. But first, check out this video and stay tuned. This is a former prosecutor from Manhattan that we got on the show, and she's going to tell us all about herself and her firm.
Welcome to Care Sandwich, the podcast where we dive into the success journeys of law firm owners across the country. I'm Margarita Everline, your host and the founder of Marketing Boss, a fractional chief marketing officer firm for law firms. On this show, we'll explore the challenges, strategies, and victories that have shaped law firms and how they wrap every interaction with care. Because we believe that caring isn't just a value, it's a strategy for success. So grab your favorite sandwich, sit back, and let's dig into a conversation filled with insight, inspiration, and of course, a lot of care.
Welcome back. Help me welcome Ashley to the virtual stage.
Hi. Good morning, Margarita.
Good morning. So you have a very interesting journey that you've taken in your career. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. So my background actually started in politics in Washington, D.C. I'm actually from Ohio originally, went to school in D.C., and then I went to law school. I wanted to help people. I wanted to make a difference in my community. So I went straight to the courtroom. I went to Manhattan, and I became a state prosecutor. After being a state prosecutor for several years in our nation's largest city, I went back home to Ohio to be a federal prosecutor and assistant United States attorney. Again, it was my chance to really serve my community, and I had an incredible experience doing that. And then I just started helping business leaders and entrepreneurs, and that's what I currently do. I have my own law firm, Hinkson Law, and I specialize in employment law as well as crisis management and investigation. So I'm here to help businesses and entrepreneurs to focus on what they want to do, which is running their business, while I help with any distractions or any legal issues that might keep them in the way from being able to do what they do best.
That is fascinating. And is there a experience that you had, or maybe a person along your journey that inspired you to go on this path? Because it's a very interesting road that you took.
There were so many mentors I had along the way, from law school professors who, they taught us. I went to Howard University School of Law, and I had professors who were practitioners who spent years as federal prosecutors, state prosecutors, but also private practitioners as well. And those were some of the mentors who helped me realize that my legal career could be vast. It could be diverse. I could do a variety of different things. And I always kept those professors in mind as I thought about my next step and trying to figure out how I can have the greatest impact. And along the way, I also had mentors in law firms. I've been in very, very large, big law firms, as well as smaller firms. And along the way, I was very fortunate to, I would say, collect my infinity stones, collect my mentors who would talk to me about their journey and the things that I could do to, just help clients better, what I could do to prepare myself to make sure that, I was able to really, help, first of all, listen to clients and understand what they need, and then figure out what I can draw from my toolbox, from my life's experiences to help them.
For those that are not familiar with your practice area, can you give us an example of how you have helped maybe one client recently?
Absolutely. So I specialize in employment law, but also crisis management. And, in terms of crisis management, people think of, the TV shows along the way, and, they think, what is a crisis? And what I've realized is that it's different for every person. Some of the most recent cases I've had, they can span anywhere from one of my clients receives a letter from their former employer who wants to enforce a restrictive covenant against them. So like a non-compete, or a person contacts me and, they want an exit strategy, or they want me to review a severance agreement between them and their previous company. And in looking at that, I give them the best and most honest answer I can about where they are, but also I help them understand, let's make sure that you were paid correctly. Let's make sure that the experiences that you've
Mm.
had, are something that makes sense. But if not, let's explore what that could look like. But also, I have my business clients as well, and they call me when they have a tough separation coming up, and they also call me when they need a new policy. Right now, AI is so big and is so important to many companies, but we want to make sure that we know what tools our employees are using. So businesses are
Mm.
contacting me right now to create AI policies so that they are aware of the tools that their employees are using to make sure that they're safe. And that insensitive client information is not just going out to these AI platforms without those restrictions and without the company understanding and knowing, exactly what's going out there. So that's one of the things that I've been doing lately, is helping companies to figure out how to exist in this age of AI, but in a safe way.
Wow, that's exciting. So if somebody's listening and thinking, I really need to get a hold of her, actually, I need all of that. What are some of the ways that people can get in touch with you?
Well, they can absolutely reach out to me by email. My email is ashley@hinksonlawfirm.com, and I'm sure that would be available to anyone viewing, but also my website as well at www.hinksonlawfirm.com. And there you'll learn a little bit more about my practice areas. As I mentioned, I have my crisis law PR, which is my crisis management arm of the firm, also employment law, investigations, and just general business law as well. I have clients who will come to me and say, "Hey, I'm just starting out, and I want some guidance on my policies and procedures. I want to make sure I'm
Mm.
paying my people correctly." And that's where I can really come in and help on the front end to avoid any issues later on.
So that's really interesting. While I was doing some research, a lot of people think that they need to go to like an HR company for those things and don't necessarily think attorney from the research that I saw of how people search. What are your thoughts on that? And what would you say to somebody who thought that?
I would tell them that they should absolutely talk to an employment lawyer. And the good thing about it is that, many of us offer consultations. So we'll have a chance to talk to you about your issue to determine if we're the right person and the right fit for you. And if we're not, we'll refer you along.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I love HR consultants, and many times I talk to them, but they also talk to me to make sure that the deliverables that they're creating for clients, whether that be a handbook or a policy, is consistent with that state's law. So it's really a team effort. And I am not afraid to bring in outside resources if needed. But, there's never a substitute for talking to an attorney to make sure that you're compliant with ever changing policies and regulations that exist in the employment law landscape.
So how do people find out about you now? What are some of the common ways that new clients connect with you?
Social media is excellent. Like, I have found it to be a wonderful resource. I try to post regularly. I want content that anyone following me or anyone who connects with me on LinkedIn, for example, or Instagram, can just learn about some of the common issues that are in the employment law world. I want people to look and to learn something and to be educated. But also, I find that people will contact me from social media, but it's also word of mouth as well. Many of my
Yeah.
clients will tell other people about my services. With my crisis management, just going back to that for a second, what I find, unfortunately, is that there are people who suffer in silence. They may have an issue where a former employee has sent them a demand letter, which is insinuating that they plan to file a lawsuit against them. Or other times, it's an owner or a founder's personal life that's impacted the business or that's entered
Mhm.
into the business. And again, in those situations, they can be embarrassing, they can be frustrating, and sometimes people don't want to go to their network and ask them for a crisis management attorney, or maybe they didn't even know that that's what they need. Um,
They don't know to search for that is what I found when I was doing some research. Like
Absolutely.
they don't know that's what it's called.
Yes. But what I want to
Yeah.
do is, I want to make sure that I have content so that if anyone searches crisis management or crisis law, that I show up, right? And that they know that I'm the kind of attorney who they can go to make sure that, if they're worried about their reputation and managing that reputation in spite of a threat to it, that's where I come in. So a lot of it's word of mouth and social media, and really just trying to be findable, honestly, trying to make sure that I speak at events and I talk to people so that they know that I exist and that my practice exists.
I love it. I think that any business owner that's listening needs to just add your contact info to their phone just in case, because you need to know who to call about these things. And it's just so stressful when you get blindsided by things. That as a business owner, it's like, it's hard enough being focused on your operations and revenue and payroll and all the things that go into running a business. And then you get hit by these curveballs that, like, folks that I've talked to about these sort of topics, you never really see it coming. Sometimes you do, but you never really do. Like, separations that you think are going to be super smooth, like, turn into lawsuits that you're like, wait, what? So yeah, I think it's really important to follow you on social media, get familiar with some of these things, and be prepared.
I agree. I always tell my clients that some crises are predictable. Employment issues, data breaches, things like that. I don't wish that on any company, but they are predictable in certain instances. But there are others that just don't seem fair and they come out of the blue. And I always, whenever I talk to groups, I ask them, how many of you have recently encountered an issue that could be nothing, or it could potentially blow up your business? And most of us have had that inflection point where the issue could be nothing at all, or it could be very serious. And again, that's why it's important not to just brush it under the rug. When you get that employee complaint, not to just, brush it under and say, oh, it's no big deal, but to actually investigate it and use the tools you have. And if you don't have those tools, to go out and find attorneys, again, HR consultants, people who can help you develop those policies. Because again, later on the back end, you don't want to deal with this in the court of law. I always say that, the court of public opinion and the court of law are different. They move at different speeds. And, it's a good idea to get in front of an issue early rather than dealing with it on the back end. And also it's more expensive on the back end as well.
Yeah, absolutely. This has been great. So insightful. Is there a piece of advice that you find yourself giving your clients most often?
Yes, there's so many things. The first, I'll give you two pieces of advice. The first one is to really get your house in order when you're opening your business and when you are thinking about the compliance parts of your business. When you're paying your employees, make sure that first that you're classifying them correctly. Are they a W-2 worker? Are they a 1099? Make sure you understand the standards and that they're defensible. And again, if you don't know, feel free to contact an employment attorney. Feel free to contact me. The other thing I tell people is I can always tell those individuals who will be able to get through a crisis by their mindset. And what I find is that those of us who say, why is this happening? And I can't believe this is happening to me. And I'm so offended that I received this lawsuit. And that person who, is trying to sue me, that I gave them so much, they were my family. I hear that sometimes. But those folks who get through those crises and are able to, really get through it effectively and make sure this doesn't happen again, what they ask is not why is this happening, but what now? Okay, it happened. What can we do now to make sure that this doesn't happen again and that we can get through this effectively? So I would just say avoid the entitlement trap, right? And avoid the temptation to ask yourself, why is this happening to me? And really consider, what can I do next to make sure that I can get through this effectively and to make sure that it does not happen again?
I had a really inspiring and sticky statement that I came across, that it said, you're either a creator or a victim, but you can't be both. You can't be this like, rah, rah, I'm gonna make it happen business owner. And then when something goes wrong, you go into victim mode. Like, no, you're either the doer. So, along the lines of what you said, it's don't ask why, ask what for. Like, where's the benefit in this? How can I learn from this? What can I do? or
Yes.
my favorite in my own silly language. Okay, we're doing this now. So
No, that's exactly right. We learn something from every experience, and it's not fun learning at all. But if we take that approach, trust me, we'll not only will we get through the situation, but we'll learn something along the way.
absolutely. And with guidance from somebody like yourself that totally gets it. Like I'm hearing you and I'm feeling like, okay, she knows her stuff, but like you can tell that you care because you're addressing these other mindset pieces. And I don't know if you realize how rare that is in an attorney to like go into those two areas. Like many attorneys, their brain just focuses on the technical aspect. And I think that's really, really impressive. And one of the reasons why we invited you on the show. So
Appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, and I have one more question for you. And I ask this of every guest, and it's a fun question. And that's, what is your favorite sandwich?
Oh goodness, my favorite sandwich. I'm a Midwestern girl at the heart. You know, I grew up on a good PB&J, but I would say in my adult life, my favorite sandwich is a bacon, egg, and cheese. I spent some time in New York, and I remember going to a good bodega and having my bacon, egg, and cheese, and it was excellent. So yeah, I think that's my favorite sandwich at this point. A breakfast sandwich, yeah, bacon, egg, and cheese.
I love that. So,
No.
funny story, my kids found this song that's about bacon, egg, and cheese, and it's such an annoying song. And they love to play it, and it like ruined, like every time I hear bacon, like I'm hearing the song in my head. I'm like, they ruined the thought of a bacon, egg, and cheese. But anyway, I'm gonna send it to you. You'll like it. You'll get a good chuckle.
Please do. That would be great.
Ashley, it's been a pleasure, folks. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Very, very insightful. And don't forget to catch it on Spotify and give it a nice little follow. Thank you, Ashley. We'll see you backstage.
Thank you so much, Margarita.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Care Sandwich. Remember, the way we care for our clients, our teams, and ourselves can make all the difference in our